The story of St. Philip Benizi.
Subscribe to our channel to receive more content like this.
In the 13th century, the world was changing quickly. Kingdoms were rising and falling, trade was opening between faraway lands, and the church was facing both great growth and serious struggles. It was a time when people longed for peace, yet often found themselves surrounded by conflict. In the midst of this world, God raised up a man of humility and prayer who would become a guide for many. His name was Philip Benizi. Philip's story begins not with power or ambition, but with quiet simplicity. He was not born into a royal family or destined for earthly greatness. Instead, he was a man who chose service over glory, humility over pride, and prayer over power. Through his life, he would remind countless people that holiness is not about being in control. It is about being open to God's will. Philip was born in Florence, Italy, in the year 1233. From an early age, he showed signs of kindness, intelligence, and a gentle spirit. His parents gave him a good education, and he studied medicine in Paris and theology in Padua. By all appearances, Philip could have pursued a career as a successful physician or scholar. Yet, he carried within him a deep restlessness, a desire not only to heal bodies, but to care for souls. One important moment came on the Feast of the Annunciation in 1254. Philip entered the Church of the Servites in Florence, a community dedicated to the Virgin Mary. While attending Mass there, he felt a powerful call from God. He knew he was meant to leave behind worldly success and join this order of humble servants of Mary. And so, Philip did not hesitate. He laid aside his academic honors, his potential career, and his prospects of wealth, and clothed himself in the simple habit of the Servites. From then on, Philip was known not for status or learning, but for humility, obedience, and service. He took on even the most menial tasks in the community, such as begging for food, caring for the sick, and tending to the poor. Though well-educated, he sought no recognition. Instead, he lived as a true servant, devoted to prayer and charity. Philip's humility and holiness soon became known beyond the walls of his order. People began to seek him out for guidance, comfort, and prayer. His words were gentle, but they carried deep wisdom. He reminded others that following Christ meant living with love, humility, and forgiveness. At this time, the Servite Order was still young and in need of guidance. Philip was asked to take on leadership, becoming the general superior of the Servites. Though he felt unworthy of the role, he accepted it out of obedience. Under his leadership, the order grew steadily. He guided his brothers with fatherly care, emphasizing simplicity, devotion to the Virgin Mary, and service to the needy. But Philip's influence extended far beyond his community. In Italy, political tensions were fierce. Cities were divided between warring factions, families fought bitter feuds, and violence often erupted in the streets. Philip was called upon to act as a peacemaker. Wherever he went, he urged reconciliation, reminding people that true power is found in forgiveness and unity. Many times, his presence alone softened hardened hearts and brought peace to divided towns. Philip's humility was tested remarkably. After the death of Pope Clement IV in 1268, the Church entered a long period without a pope. The cardinals gathered in Viterbo to elect a new leader, but the process dragged on for nearly 3 years. During this time, Philip's name began to appear among the candidates. Many believed he had the holiness, wisdom, and humility needed to guide the Church as pope. When Philip learned of this, he was horrified. Not out of pride, but out of deep humility, he felt unworthy of such an office. He longed only to serve quietly, not to rule. Tradition tells us that Philip fled Viterbo, hiding himself away until the election was complete. He was determined to remain a servant, not a prince of the Church. In doing so, Philip demonstrated that true greatness lies not in grasping for power, but in letting it go. Philip spent the rest of his life in prayer, teaching, and service. He traveled to different regions, strengthening the Servite Order and guiding people closer to God. He never sought recognition or comfort for himself, but always gave his time and energy for others. In the final years of his life, Philip's health began to weaken. He retired to a small Servite monastery on Monte Senario, a quiet place outside Florence. There, surrounded by his brothers, he continued to pray, to counsel, and to live in humility. He died on August 22, 1285, leaving behind a legacy of peace, humility, and faith. After his death, devotion to Philip spread quickly. People remembered his gentle presence, his wise words, and his tireless efforts for peace. In 1671, he was canonized a saint by Pope Clement VI. Today, St. Philip Benizi is remembered as a man who refused power, embraced humility, and brought peace where there was division. The story of St. Philip Benizi reminds us that holiness is not about being the most powerful, the most successful, or the most admired. It is about being faithful in the small things, humble in the face of praise, and ready to serve wherever God calls. Whenever we feel tempted to chase after recognition or control, we can remember Philip's example. He had every opportunity for worldly success, yet he chose instead the quiet path of service. Even when others saw greatness in him, he chose humility. His life teaches us that the greatest leaders are often those who do not seek to lead, and the greatest victories are won not with swords or crowns, but with humility, forgiveness, and love. Like St. Philip, we too are invited to live not for ourselves, but for God and for others.